Man, I love giving these talks. It's funny because I get, I don't know what it is. Just that part of myself comes out, I guess. It's just connecting, with what I'm supposed to be doing in this. When I went to the other side, the thing that was so beautiful to me and that gave me such peace was I'd been in the afterlife and I was kind of coming back, and I was above the earth and my guide was still with me. I could see Rebazar, was right beside me. And he asked me, stopped me as I'm seeing the earth, because from above and you're looking down at the earth, I mean, just floating in space, it just looks like Shangri-La, And then I started getting a little bit closer, and all of a sudden I started feeling all this pain, this emotional pain. And he stopped me for a minute. He says, Regan, what you're starting to feel is the emotional pain from the earth because you decided to do this work. So he says, Regan, if you're going to do this work, I have 4 things I'm going to tell you that you must do, or your physical body won't be able to handle it and you will die. And so I said, okay, let's talk for a minute. I just decided that I wanted to do this work. I screamed when he asked me if I want to do this work. I'm in trance, but I don't think I did, in my facilitator didn't see me, but in that where I was there, I just screamed, yes, So he says 4 things you have to do, and I think this will help everybody here. He says the first thing when you wake up in the morning is, he says, I want you to declare yourself as a vehicle for spirit, okay? And I heard this prayer, so cool. Actually, as he's telling me this, I have an image in my mind of an hourglass. You know how the sand goes in and goes down the bottom, Well, all this stuff is happening. He's talking to me, and I'm seeing myself in my mind, seeing clients, and I'm seeing the sand in there build up and build up and build up and build up, but nothing's going through to the bottom. And I knew instinctively if that sand got to the top, it was sayonara for me, So he says, I want you to do 4 things. He says, declare yourself as a spirit. And I heard a prayer in my mind. It said, bless this day and those that I serve, as I keep 1 foot in heaven and 1 foot planted firmly on earth to accomplish my mission. And then the second thing he said is to do as many random acts of kindness as I can. And I saw myself in my mind. I was at a 7-Eleven store and someone dropped a candy wrapper and I picked it up, put it in the trash. And then I saw sand start to go down to the bottom, And then he said, spend more time in nature. He said, that's God's gift for all of us, We can feel that, can't we? When you're walking in the woods or you're walking along the beach, something is having that, your sand to go down is comforting, And the 4th thing he said was something practical. He said, talk to other therapists how they ground themselves. He says grounding is very, very important. So I have a regular hypnotherapy practice and I'm dealing with crazy stuff. And isn't it funny, because in my early life, I was a professional clown. I did 4,000 children's birthday parties as a clown. And then I became I was a ventriloquist, and I became a corporate entertainer. I did all these things, and I worked Vegas. I did all kinds of stuff, and I loved it. It was nothing about being on stage and getting people to laugh, sometimes laughing so hard they're crying, And that was a spiritual experience for me. But then at a certain point, when that market kind of went away at 2008, when the financial crisis hit, companies stopped, spending $5,000 on comedians to come in. They would luckily even get hired after that. And that's when an inner guidance guided me to go to hypnotherapy school. And in 2008, I became a hypnotherapist. And selfishly so, because I thought, okay, I can't get hired at corporate stuff. My normal comedy would be fine for 1 week at a comedy club, but then everybody's seeing my act. So I can't keep doing it week after week. But with the hypnotist, you can go in, do the same show, but you have different people in it. So it's always different, So I realized, oh man, maybe I could stay employed. But then something happened when I realized that with hypnotherapy that, and I don't know why they don't teach this to children in schools and things, because our subconsciouses are programmable, just like a computer. I mean, we've been programmed slowly over years by our parents and good people, people that wanted us to be a certain way, and we've accepted certain things as truth. And those things now are kind of cemented in, and they're like our belief system. And a lot of you here know that even being here today is chopping up some of that hard cement that was of what you learned early on by well-meaning people. But you just, spirit just says, wait a minute, there's more than this. Or those well-meaning people didn't have all answers to things. And now we have to unchop all that, to really get to who we really are. And that's why a lot of you are here today. So anyway, I was doing a session recently. I was on a coast to coast on a national radio show, and I had hundreds of people calling me, and I sold hundreds of books and all that. And it was a little bit overwhelming, but I was trying to get everybody in because I'm only me. I can only do so many sessions and whatever. So I did like 8 in 1 week. And when I walked out of the 8th one, I got in my car, and I was feeling like in heaven, but I couldn't even follow my GPS. I mean, it was telling me to turn right, and I would turn left, and I was just spinning. I couldn't get out of this neighborhood. I just kept, and so I had to pull over, have a travel van. Luckily, I had to sleep for 3 or 4 hours, and then I was able to kind of do that. But the next week, I'm doing a session, and my client's in trance, and they says, my guide wants to talk to you, Regan. And I says, uh-oh, what's going on here? And they said, slow down. They says, you're doing too much, So I do about 2 or 3 a week now, but I'm pretty much caught up. And if any of you want to book sessions, I'm booking. I have a few, well, actually pretty quick. In 2 or 3 weeks, I have some openings, and next month a few openings. So, and this isn't something we try to talk anybody into. This is something you'll get an inner kind of thing that's saying, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. Okay. The good news is about this is that it's a natural thing we found out. It's so natural. And this is what surprises me every time, and how easy this is for most people. Women that I see have about a 90% success rate the very first time they attempt this. Men, it's about 80% because we're a little thicker. We have a little hard time being kind of getting into our, to ourselves. But what I do this though is that when people have the first session, if it's not successful, then we do follow-up session within a few months usually, and most of those are successful. Because when you come in, you know what to expect already. You don't have to go through all that, that kind of thing. So today, at the end here on the back, I'm doing free consultations with people. I started doing those 4 years ago, and I found it's really good. Because what I do is I just, we just go and have like half-hour conversation. I get to know you a little bit, and about your life, about your spiritual experiences a bit. And then I tell you how to prepare if you have a session. The one thing that some people fear is because of humans, we've all gone down the wrong road a number of times. We've all made decisions that we weren't really happy with in our life. We have some guilt and shame over some of those things. And they think, oh my gosh, I don't want to be judged when I'm over there because they see me, they see me, they know exactly what's going on with me. But the experiences you're going to find is like, you would just thank God that's that way, because when you go before the council there, they know everything about you, and all they're doing is sending you love bombs. I mean, they understand you, and it feels, some people say, look, I felt like when I was there, that finally somebody understood me. Someone could see me through my dysfunction to the good person that we are, So that's the beautiful thing about, there's no condemnation, there's no hell or darkness, and all these 70,000 sessions we've done have all been about love and light, and they're there to help you. Okay. Now, sometimes the councils, you're going to ask questions, and sometimes you might not like the answers they give you, because it's like, you've got to get to work. They'll tell you what to do, and it's up to you when you come out of the session if you want to follow their advice or not. But it's always, you always know that it's done in the most loving, caring, kind way. Some people feel like during the whole session that they just feel buckets of love. It's very emotional for a lot of people. Now, it all happens in your mind, So sometimes even after a session, people go, whoa, that was a trip, but did I just make that up? Was it my imagination? And I'll tell you that your imagination plays a role in this part. Imagination is the kindling that starts this fire. Like in the first part of the session, as we're going through it, I'm doing kind of guided visualization to get everything warmed up. So I'm suggesting to you, what we first do is have you go to a safe place like an island or a mountain meadow or something. And to get all of your senses involved, we start having you sense, smell, and feel, and it kind of warms you up for where you're going. And then at a certain point, what happens is it switches, and I start asking you open-ended questions. I'll say, tell me what you're seeing. What is going on? Tell me more. Tell me more. Okay. So it switches. So the imagination, kind of gets things going, and then we switch to the real stuff. I'm going to tell you just what I'm doing to everybody that's here today. If you want, when you sign up at the back for a free consultation, I'm going to send you my book, which is 3 hours, 33 minutes in heaven. It's my whole story about what happened for me. But the best book to read, if you haven't, a lot of you have already read this and are here today because of that, is Journey of Souls, which is Michael Newton's initial book in 1995. Journey of Souls sold 1 million copies out there, and it's about how this all got started. And there's like 22 cases in there. People start reading it, they can't put it down, because when you're reading it, you're thinking about your life and about, what's going on with you. And they start thinking about, like, okay, wow, they found out. Why can't I find out and get more clarity? Most of you are going to find out if you do a session that you're in the middle of your mission, that you somehow subconsciously got into learning certain things. But there's something about us being human that we don't have 100% clarity on it. So it kind of leaves us confused a little bit, that way. So the second time, I've been 2 times over there. And what's nice about this now, when you leave, they'll go, come on back anytime you want. You're welcome here anytime, they say. So I've done it with people where I've done a session and maybe 2 or 3 years later, they want to go back because their life has changed so much since their first session. They're in this whole new world of experiencing things, and all these new people have come into their life, and their jobs have changed, and everything is crazy again. So they go, I just need some clarity now, So boom, it's so nice when they come back second time, because we just get to work, their mind already knows how to go there. We go there and they go before the council, and this time they've really got their questions, because after what I do is I send you homework to prepare you for sessions. And it's nice to have a couple, 2 or 3 weeks or a month ahead, because you'll be thinking about a little bit every day, and you go back, oh, I should ask this question, and you go, oh, I don't need to know that. And you cross put another one, So 3 things that I do to help you prepare in your homework. First thing is you write a list of questions you want to have answered about your life, okay? We're going to ask the important questions all the time, like, let's get clarity on what your mission is. Why did you decide to be you? What are your challenges that you've chosen for your life, that sort of thing. But you'll have questions that are unique to you. It's usually about relationships, about, why can't I stand my mother-in-law, or something, something like that. That's, issues that you have, or the coworker you have that you don't know why, but they are testing you every day. You want to punch them sometimes, and you want to find out why, But a lot of times it's about career, because a lot of people that are doing the spiritual work, you find out as you become more evolved in a way, your life changes in a lot of ways. The things that fit you when you were younger don't fit anymore. Like, like your job, your friends, some of them, and that sort of thing. And you feel the shift, and you want guidance, as far as, about that. And they will talk to you about anything. If you want to know about financial stuff or whatever, I mean, they're like these wise coaches over there that will teach you a lot of things. Now, sometimes they're going to not give you specific answers, but they'll say, can't tell you because part of your learning is you figuring it out yourself. Okay. And they go, darn, but sometimes they'll be very specific with you. A lot of people will ask, they'll say, okay, this is a good one. I like this all the time, because some people are there and they go, okay, I'm here now. So what's the one religion I should be following? Because I'm going to go back and sign up for it or something. And they'll just smile at you, and say, well, if you need a religion, pick one, They'll just tell you that the only religion, the true religion, is one of love and kindness, okay? And if you find it in a religion you're at, then you probably need that. Some people like me, I grew up Catholic. I was a Catholic boy all the way up through high school. Went to Jesuit high school and stuff. I didn't even know about reincarnation and all that stuff till I went to college. A lot of you, when you went to college, all of a sudden you're going, oh my gosh, somebody doesn't think just like me, there. So they're willing to answer any of the questions. So I would say about 90% of my clients they all have the same experience, but it's unique to them because everybody's at a different level of consciousness, okay? But here's usually what happens. And let me explain hypnosis for you guys there's so much misinformation, everything out about there. When I went to hypnotherapy school, I had never experienced hypnosis, and I thought, well, if I'm going to be a hypnotist, I want to feel what it's like. So every time they asked for a volunteer in class, I would raise my hand and go up, and nothing would happen, and I'd feel silly after about the 6th or 7th or 8th time, whatever. And then finally, I think it was the 9th time or 10th time, because I wasn't giving up, because everybody else, no problem, but me, I was just in my monkey mind here. I just couldn't figure it out. So he does this test with me. He says, okay, have me close my eyes. I'm in front of the class. He says, okay, in one hand here, I'm going to put an LA telephone book in my right hand. And on the other hand here, he's putting this really huge helium balloon. And I knew what he's saying. He's saying, okay, you're going to feel the way and you're just going to go like this. But in my mind, I said, I'm not going to do that, because I'm just awake. I'm doing that. I'm not in hypnosis, So I just kept my hands the same, and he kept talking about. Then he had me open my eyes, and when I looked at my hands, it was like this. And I went, oh my God, my subconscious was listening to him, feeling the weight of that, but my conscious mind was not with that. Then I realized that part of me, that deep part of my subconscious mind, had accepted that suggestion. And I went, oh my God, that's what hypnosis is. All it is being relaxed. That's all hypnosis is. The technical part of this, if we had you hooked up to a brain scan kind of thing, and they were looking at your brain, right now we're in what we call a beta state. There's a lot of people who heard this. Now, as you do meditation, or as you begin to relax at night, you get some alpha waves. So right now, our waves are real close together like this. As you begin to relax, the alpha waves come in, and then the theta waves, and then the delta waves, where you're just knocked out. You could have an atom bomb go off next to you and you wouldn't even wake up, because you're so deep. So what happens here is we go through the process of falling asleep. So you're just listening to my voice. You're allowing to watch yourself begin to relax. And when you get to the point where the theta waves kind of start coming in, if I wasn't communicating with you, you would just fall asleep, okay? But because we keep you right, it's that feeling that you have just as you wake up in the morning and you're kind of still in your dream a little bit, but you hear the TV in the next room or something, and then you open your eyes and you're kind of like in a trance, like that. That's all that it is. It's so simple. That's why this is so successful, because we all do that every night we go to sleep. So all you're doing is allowing it to happen on cue. And in that state, right there in that theta state, we seem to have a switch, and we can go to memories of past lives, where we went in between lives and everything. It's just magical when that happens. So you write a list of questions you want to have answered. Second thing you do is you pretend you're sitting and watching a play of your life. You're sitting in the audience. Okay, there's act 1, there's act 2, there's act 3, and there's people that are behind the curtain, and these different things that come into your life, the important people. So what you do is you write a list of the important people in your life, the good, the bad, and the difficult, okay? Especially the difficult, because those are the ones that you want to get some resolution to. Those are the ones that you want to get some relief from in your life, or find out what the heck is going on with me and this person, okay? Because when you're on the other side, not only will you get to talk face to face with loved ones that have passed on, but more importantly is you get to talk to the higher selves of people that are still alive in your life. What we discovered in this research we've been doing, and matter of fact, now we're in 45 countries. There's 250 of us doing this, and we're training about 20, 30 people a year. So it's a slow process, but it takes about a year to get totally, certified. When you decided to be, everybody here, when you decided to be you were looking at how difficult your life was going to be, on what your challenges were going to be, and you decided how much of your spiritual self you were going to put into the physical body. It's usually about half. That's an average about. So that means that half of you is always over there, always there. It's always back home, your higher self. So for instance, each of you, if you have spouses, you can talk to your higher self of your spouse, some people go, oh boy, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm going to really, so it's beautiful though. I had a couple come to me for couples counseling one time, because they had been regular counseling and they were like this. They loved each other deeply, but they could not get past this stuckness that they had. So their therapist says, well, I've done all I can do for you, and you guys are like this, and you're just not going anywhere. So I'm going to send you to Regan, and they were open to this kind of thing. So one day I had him go to the other side, talk to her higher self. The next day she went and talked to his higher self. In this case, they found out that it was time for her to move on. Okay. I mean, it was just, and it became so clear to him why. He was sad as heck because this couple really loved each other, had a great family. They were Jewish in the temple, and he says to me, they're not going to believe we're getting a divorce because we're the perfect couple, because they were a good couple. He hadn't been unfaithful to her. He hadn't been mean, that way. But here's what can happen over there. When he went to a past life, his higher self had him. He was in the 1800s. He had the big black top hat, like you see in the early 1900s, the rich people, and they had the black suit and the white thing. He was upper class, that way. So he's in trance, and I said, he's in his past life, and I said, okay, I'm going to count to three. I'm going to count to three, and I touch you right here. You're going to go to an important event in your life. So 1, 2, 3, and the guy's walking into a bar. And I'm thinking, well, because usually it's like a wedding, a birth, a death of somebody, like, someone's attacking the village or something like this. He's walking into a bar. And all he's doing is sitting there. There's this barmaid, she's giving drinks, and a little kid running around. He's just sitting there. And I didn't know what to do. So I just went, okay, let me try something. I says, okay, I'm going to count to 3. This is going to be later on that night. What's going on? I'm 1, 2, 3. And he's in a hotel room with the barmaid. And come to find out that was his mistress that nobody knew about in town. The little kid running around was his kid. And she gave him an ultimatum in that room. She says, look, you take me as your wife. You let the people know that this is your son and that, or I never want to see you again. And he couldn't do it because there was so much social pressure. So he blew it in that lifetime. Well, he had made an agreement with her to come back in this lifetime. They had an agreement. And as he found out on the other side, he just didn't come up to snuff of where he was supposed to be with his agreement. And she was saying, I'm just not waiting for you. We'll try it another time. Okay. But I got to move on, and was interesting. But they found out what was really going on, what this was all about. And he realized that he had some more growth to do, had some more learning to do. So I don't know. I know apparently what he told me is they split up amicably and everything was okay. When I was finished with them, they said, can you do a session for my daughter? And I said, well, we don't usually like to do children because sometimes if they go to a past life and it ends up being a little crazy, the 10-year-old doesn't know how to process it in this lifetime. But they said, well, ever since she was 3 years old, she's come up and told us she was stabbed to death in the back of a car, and it still bothers her. She has dreams of that and everything. But I said, okay, let's experiment here. So they came in the room with her a few days later. She came there. An angelic little girl walks in, and now I just want to cry when she just was gorgeous. She just was like an angel. She went right into trance. She ended up being a man named George, and it was like 1800s. And George had a wife and children. And here's this 10-year-old little girl. And when she's George in that lifetime, and around when his wife was 70 years old, she died. So here's this 10-year-old little girl crying right in front of me because George just lost his wife, and the parents are there going, whoa, there's something, and then George ended up dying at 90 and a normal death. But we didn't get any answers to what we went there for. So an angel shows up, and the angel she just smiled. Like I said, when she's in trance, she just smiled, and this beautiful angel showed up. And we said, look, we were really concerned here because she said to her mom, she died, and this has been bothering her. And the angel was holding her and told her, yes, that happened, and it was something that needed to happen. And for both you and for that person here, but that was another lifetime. That doesn't have anything to do with your lifetime now, and everything's going to be okay. So we brought her out and we asked her, how do you feel now? And she just smiled. She goes, oh, okay. Like that. And backing up a bit, we asked the angel, why did that happen? They said, she doesn't need to know that now. So she's not, she can't deal with that now, but just let her know everything's okay. But the little girl just seeing the angel and the angel telling her everything's okay, was what she needed, relief. But the angel finished up saying to me, to tell the parents everything too, said that man who did that to you in the last lifetime is going to come back to you in this lifetime, but he's coming back to make amends for what he did. So there's nothing to worry about, that way. So I don't know. This has been about 7 years ago when I did that. I'm always wondering, what's happened to her because she'd be 17 years old now, that way. So a lot of healing can happen in this. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's easy to do. The third thing that you're going to do, I'm also certified with Dolores Cannon's school of quantum healing hypnosis, which a lot of you have heard about her. She's an amazing woman, or was, and she's passed away. She actually passed away around the same time Michael Newton did, which was kind of interesting. And so they take it in a little similar, but it's a little different direction. There's not quite as many bells and whistles, but what they concentrated on is finding out about healing, about what's going on in your life now. So the third thing you do is you write a list of any health issues that you have. So what I've done is I've kind of intertwined both systems. That's why my session's a little bit longer. You're probably talking, 4.5 to 6 hours for a session. First part of the session, we're going over all your homework and we're planning your journey, because I'm like a tour guide, and you're saying, Regan, when I'm over there, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to get these answers and whatever. So I'm just, as you're over there, I'm just following down what you want to do to make sure you get everything done. Otherwise, you'd be a little spacey over there and just like, whoa, let me know. No, come on, I say, come on back. We got to get this work done, and everything there. So when you're before the council, I'll say, my client has some health issues we want to discuss. And I'll say, is it more proper to have the higher self to come out and do a body scan and to do some healing if possible? Or do you have somebody here that's more appropriate? Most of the time, instantly, there's a healer in front of you. And I'll have you say, well, what does a healer look like? And it's so cool. Had one where the healer was like about 15 foot tall. And it was this big ball of energy, but he said it kind of had the long white hair or something. And I forget, we asked, why did he appear that way? Because usually when they appear kind of out of normal, there's usually a reason for it. I forget what it was in that case. But anyway, so then we say, well, would you be willing to do a body scan for my client? They always say yes. And that experience for some people is amazing. I had one of my clients, he says, I felt like I was lifted up, and the healer had this wand. It was like an Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of wand. And it had all these colors coming out of it. And he was going underneath her and going over her or whatever. And I forget what it was, but there was one issue she wasn't. He says, well, maybe you should check this certain thing out, go to your doctor and, find out about something. The biggest thing you'll get with that is we ask why, why do I have this illness? And you're going to find out why you made yourself sick. Usually it's some imbalance that we have in ourselves. Maybe we haven't worked on forgiveness for something, or maybe it has to do with self-love, self-loathing, or something like that. So they'll give you an overview kind of and say, no, this is why you've gotten yourself sick. And so we'll ask, well, can it be reversed? And a lot of times they'll say, yeah. You just have to kind of a little work to do. You got to get some more self-love in there. You got to forgive your father, your mother, your coworker, or something like that, which has made you sick. And then and they'll say, we'll start a healing, but it only will happen if you do the work you have to do. I've had a few when I did my first. I think they were doing this just to show me the power of this. And the very first one I had, the woman came in for a life between life session, and she was limping. And she came in. She had actually a cane. So we found out the reason she was that way, she was going to be retiring in a few months. Her whole life was changing. She was so fearful of losing all of her friends at work. It was like family. And all of a sudden she wasn't going to be seeing her work family anymore. Okay. She was going to have to be around her husband 24/7, which is, he said, I love my husband, but I don't know if I want to be around him every day, all the time. And there's so many things that were bothering her. So they said, what you've done is you've frozen your hips so you can't move forward, okay? So I was quiet for a little bit. They had a nice conversation with her. And I said, okay, now tell me what they said. And they said, well, they think I kind of got it, that I think I can not be afraid now. So I said, can we do a healing? And they said, okay. So she's on my therapist table here. And she starts, and all of a sudden, big loud pop, and her hip popped right back in place, And I went, okay, this works. It was so cool to see that happen, And I've had a few other things over the years that have happened that way. Some of them, it's like people will contact me like 6 months or a year later, and they'll go, okay, my thing, it took a while, but it all cleared up or something, If you know about Dolores Cannon's work, she's had some amazing spontaneous ones that happen, with people. It just depends. So this is kind of a holistic thing. We want to take care of having you find out a little bit about your past to give you more, more of a sense of who you are. We want to talk about your issues that are current with you that are kind of getting in the way of what your mission is because you're spending so much time worrying or trouble that way. And then talk about your health issues. It's it's beautiful. It's like finding this process has just been a game changer for things. But I think we all can kind of feel that the veil between here and the other side. Do you feel like it's just getting thinner and thinner? Look at all the stuff coming in about the aliens now and the things. We're starting to find out that we're just a speck of sand here, that life is everywhere. You know, in these sessions now, I found it very interesting. I'm going to Barcelona in November, and we should have a couple hundred of us there in Barcelona talking about all these changes. And because we're noticing a shift in things, the sessions are being even more easy for people to do. We ask a question now with everybody: have you ever incarnated in another dimension or on another planet? That way, about 30% of the time, they're in trance. You go, oh yes. I said, okay. So what I'm doing is I asked the council before the council happens, says, can we leave the council for a minute? I want my client to kind of take me to where that place was and describe it to me for research purposes. So boom, all of a sudden we're there. I had one recently, he was a doctor. In this life, he's a doctor. And it surprised the heck out of him. He found himself in this world where it was a physical world. People look pretty much like we look here. He said, and they had 50 years of dark and 50 years of light, you know, and in that time when it was 50 years of dark, they used a lot of their precious resources up that they were running out of. So his job was, he was on a spaceship with another guy, and they were going to a planet to find out where they could find these other minerals so they could get their place to come and mine it to take it back to there. And then when I had him go, I said, well, okay, but how did you die in that lifetime? And then he said the F word. He goes, co-pilot. The co-pilot like made a wrong turn and they crashed. You know, he was so mad at that co-pilot. They're like, oh, what did you do? You know, and he died on that planet. So that surprised him. He came out of that. And he goes, that was weird, but I could see all that. I just knew all that. You know, so it's interesting. One woman, she said it was the best life she ever had. Her soul energy was in the mist that was surrounding the earth as it was cooling so that it could have human life, you know, could have life on it. She said it was like being in an eternal spa, just floating. She says, oh my God, I love that life. You know, it's difficult. I forgot to set my timer. Let me see, because I want to make sure that, you know, okay, we're good that way. Anyway, you do those three things. The sessions can be done online. When we started doing it in COVID, we always thought, no, we always have to do it in person. And we were blown away that we had the same success rate if it's online or whether it's in person. Since I'm pretty much in the area, I live in Marin County, I'm pretty close by, so I prefer in person because this is an important thing. This is a shift, you know, and when I went there the second time to the afterlife, I asked some specific questions about, okay, I'm doing this work. Why are you allowing everybody to come here now? You know, what's the deal? And they said, well, this is, and I asked them, is this it? All this stuff, is this heaven? Is this where we're all going? And in a sense, I know my guide was sitting down at the time on the council, and he jumps up and goes, you haven't seen anything. You know, it was like, there's so much that's there. This is kind of like heaven 101. And they just want you to get a glimpse, you know, so that you know when you come back to the physical body that heaven is real. There's no mistake. You know, okay, I'm the eternal soul. I never die. I'm going back home, you know, where I was created. Okay. They want you to know that. They want you to identify what your mission is, and they want you to get to work on whatever that is, simple or complex, whatever your mission is, because the earth needs it more than ever now. It needs all of us doing our best work. Okay. And the third thing is to let you know that you're never alone, because you're going to meet your guide. You're going to see you've got a whole team over there, you know, relatives that are passed on that are watching over you, rooting for you, you know, your guides, your angels, whatever. And they says, if you know those three things and you get that out of a session, then you're going to come down and do the most important thing, which is to concentrate on why you're here now. Okay. So, you know, we can just meditate and be in outer space all the time and zoning out, but you're not getting your work done. Okay. So it's time to get in the nitty gritty and do what you came down here to do. This thing that surprised me is how selfless souls are, because, you know, I always thought my mission, do I have to be like Martin Luther King or Gandhi or Donald Trump, you know, or whoever's on their mission to do whatever they're doing, you know. But you're going to find out that souls are so selfless. One of my clients, she said she's just been floating around. She said, I've had a great life, but I don't really have a mission. I have a husband, and she just had a granddaughter, and then so she's on the other side. And she finds out that her mission was to come down to have a daughter, and that daughter was going to have her granddaughter, and she was to mentor that granddaughter. So that's how selfish. She said, I'm going to live this whole life, and my whole purpose is to, when that baby was born, is to really nurture her and to do things that her parents can't do, because the parents are still in la la land a little bit. And, that's one thing I'll tell you, as you get a little older, I'm, like say, grandpa to 9 grandchildren, and how important grandparents are. That was I didn't say that already, did I? About they told me I needed to be a better grandfather over there. Did I say that earlier?
No.
Okay, so that was the whole, that session would have been worth it for me just to find that out. See, I never had grandparents really. So I just thought I'd show up at Thanksgiving, I give them a hug and I go, and that's grandma, okay? But apparently not, okay? Because when I was over there, and they said, I found out my mission, besides doing this work, was all about kindness, okay? And selflessness. And they said, Regan, you're doing pretty good. And I knew, when I look at how I was when I was 20 years old, I had 2 addictions I went through and did all kinds of hell stuff, and then who I've become now. And I realized, yeah, I've been working on that, I'm a pretty kind guy. I don't, my go-to all the time when something happens is to step forward to being selfish, but since I've had the sessions, as I start, okay, and I just kind of pull my foot back a little bit, So it's taken the hard edges off of me. I find that I'm more kind and I'm less likely to get angry. I went to anger management for 3 years. Can you believe this guy up here did that? No, I was a yeller and a screamer and things, when things would go wrong. Oh my gosh. I remember one house that I had, and I could say, well, that's the one I threw that against the wall. That's when I threw that against the wall. And I had spirit got me into a program because I was becoming a spiritual person. I realized I don't want to be that kind of person anymore. So I went every Thursday night for 3 hours for 3 years, doing it the hard way, just with, willpower, trying to turn that around. But I did, so I want to tell you how beautiful spirit is. I had an addiction one time and it got so bad. I was like 28 years old. And my wife found out about it and it devastated her because I had a secret life, and just totally devastated her, and the pain that I caused her and everything. I got to the point, we were flying to a spiritual convention. I told her the day before, so we're on the plane. She's in some other land, and I'm going, oh my God. So we get to, our plane got delayed. They put us up in a hotel because they had problems. So I'm out in the middle of St. Louis. I walk out, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't know. So I got down the stairs. Nobody's around. I'm crying like crazy, and I'm just saying, God, I can't do this. This addiction has me. I don't know how I'm going to get it out of it. I went to sleep that night. I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden in this dream or vision I was having, I'm on an operating table, and these 2 doors burst open, and this doctor came in. He had all I could see was his eyes because he had the blue cap, has stuff, and he comes and he smiles at me, and I recognized him as a spiritual master. And I went, okay, this is happening. And he smiled at me. Then the door busted open again, and 5 other of these teachers or masters came, and they surrounded me, and they started clockwise, and each went around kissing the periphery of my body as they went around like a clockwork. And I woke up and my addiction was gone, totally gone. And I just went, oh, whoa, that was, early on, in my life when I was lucky to have that kind of thing. So I didn't have to go through the 12-step and all that kind of thing. And I thank God for that all the time. But I think that's what I needed for spirit to show me that, okay, you're on the right track. You got to that point where you gave up, you surrendered totally to spirit, and we came in and helped, that way. So a lot of you too, and that's what would be nice to talk for the people that I talk to individually there. We've all had some sort of, you wouldn't be here if you hadn't had some sort of guidance or some sort of nudge or spiritual experience, or, some of you here are kind of halfway being mediums. I have a number of mediums that come to me to do this work, because a lot of times for them, they can help everybody else, but seeing everything themselves is a little difficult sometimes, that way. And so when they go to the other side, they get clarity on their mission. I think they get a little better at what they do, because they find out more information. Now, watching my time here for the next speaker here, about 3 minutes here. For any of you that have any other questions that you have, I got my booths out here. You feel welcome to come by. But if you feel that you might want to know more about a session, not obligating you to have a session, but there's two things in the back there. You guys can like sign up. I'll send you both free books, and then we'll just have a conversation. I'll give you more information, because as you're leaving here, other questions will come up, and what about this? What about that? Kind of thing. Happy to talk to you individually. And then if you decide to have a session, I love doing this work, because I know it's what I'm supposed to be doing. And but every time I do a session, I've done hundreds of these now, and every time I learn a little bit more, and each one of you is an individual, and actually as you grow, I grow. I just feel that way. I'm here. I am sitting next to someone who's in the afterlife, who's with their guides, who's having this life-changing thing, and I get to sit there and witness this. It's it takes a lot out of you, but it's good that way. Okay. So for those who want to do this now, if you don't want to sign up, you don't want to have that, don't worry about it, because that just means that all you needed to do is hear this lecture today. Because when I went to, I'll finish up with this. The second time I went back there, 28 of us therapists swapped sessions during COVID, and we wanted to find out what the heck is going on here. So we had a list of questions. All of us were to ask the same questions, come back and say, because that's what you do in research. You want to find out not just what one person says, but everybody. So I did this one on Zoom. I was a therapist in Alabama, and I did her session, then she did mine. So I'm sitting there, and this is on Zoom. So part of me, I'm for the council, but my monkey mind got in mine again. I go, am I really here at the council? I'm just sitting here at my desk, and am I deep enough? Is this really happening? And then as that happened, then Michael Newton walks in at the council, because he passed away before I got my training. When he walked in, here I am at my desk, and I start bawling like a baby, and then my mind is going, shut up, Regan, you're here. Michael Newton came down, he had me kneel down, and he took a sword, he goes like this on my shoulders, like this. And he was saying, look, I don't care anything about my legacy. You guys are making me like I'm some kind of saint because I'm all this. He said, look, that's not important. We're discussing over here the thing that's important for every one of us to do, and that's to help whoever we're around to get to their next step in evolution. It might be just teaching somebody mindfulness, or getting someone to start to meditate, or someone to find a religion, or whatever it is that person needs. What we're supposed to do, we're at, wherever rung we're at on the ladder, we have to look down to who's next below us and kind of reach down, kind of pull them up. Okay. So he says everybody doesn't need to have this, but it's nice if they're aware of it, because then that way maybe that's all they need to realize there is a heaven, that they're not alone. They know, even though they haven't met their guide face to face, they know that there's one there, and so that's all that they need for some people. And other people like me, I said, I got to have this session. I got to see what that's all about, And with me, just to tell you now, because I'm a guy, I'm monkey mind over here. My analytical side is just like crazy. I was in training. And so at the 5th day, they said, okay, tomorrow, all of you are going to go to the other afterlife, So then all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, I remember hypnotherapy school. I was the last one in the class to be hypnotized. What's going to happen? So we go there, and the first session was a bust. They finally gave up on me after about 2 hours. 3 days later, though, I'd done some personal work. I was doing some exercises to visualize my analytical self to be out of the way, so I could just relax and enjoy this. So I got to the past life, and so I'm realizing this is going on. Like, okay, I'm through the past life now. I'm going to see the afterlife. Okay, this is good. This is good. I'm getting there. And then I got stuck, and I was in, which I later learned is a real place. It's what we call the black. So picture you pass away, and then you're going to afterlife. Well, in a sense, as we look at it, there's, we got to go from here to there. Well, some people go like that, but I was going like this. And I was just in the in-between. So the therapist there knew enough to just let me float in that blackness for a while. And in there, I'm thinking, oh God, this isn't going to work. Everybody, because when we went back, the 16 other therapists all had amazing experiences. And I was just sitting there like, oh, poor me, But so my therapist said, just hang around there. So just float. And he says, look, you may see some light at some point or something. And then all of a sudden in the distance, I saw like about the size, about that big, there was a little red. And the therapist says, well, just float over towards that red. And like in a nanosecond, I was out, and there was Reeves, my guy. And then I had the most beautiful experience. So you know, sometimes that, and I've learned now to not give up, because sometimes we run into roadblocks, but I've got like 5 different techniques. So if one doesn't work, I just say, okay, this is no problem. Just calm down, and we're going to back up a little bit, and then we'll go this way. You know, that doesn't work, we'll go this way. And that's why I think my success rate's about 92% altogether now, you know, because I don't give up, you know, because sometimes occasionally what you're going to find out is that there's so many traumas or things that have happened in this lifetime that you haven't dealt with, that you haven't taken care of. A couple of times, not very rare, but we've gotten to the past life, and then when we get to the pearly gates, in a sense, and the guides will say, you know, probably not time for you to come right now. And they'll say, you need to kind of work on some of the things in your current life now. And we'll ask them, and I'm a regular therapist too, so luckily with a few of them, we just back up and we go, okay, they said it's not ready. And we'll usually ask them a timeline. We'll say, like, when can they come back? And they'll usually say, oh, you know, 3 months, 6 months, something like that. And so I've done regular therapy with people where they've gone to the normal therapist or something, come back, and when they come back, boom, everything just happens. So, you know, there's everything can happen that way. So thank you guys very, very much for coming today. And whoever would like to have a free consultation or would like to talk more about having a session in the future, this is sign up in the back there. I'll send you the 2 free books, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Hope you find what you need.